I just think the success story is something that's got to be documented. I have always thought that Bryan could do insurance. You've had a great year so far. Numbers wise, right? You're almost at 3 times the national average for independent brokerage agents, right? So Bryan is killing it.
In the corporate world that I came from, you're locked in from 8 a.m., sometimes till 7 p.m. every night, no exceptions. And I really, really want to be an involved father. I want to coach his games. I want to be there. That is one of the main reasons I wanted to switch professions. When I kind of had that aha moment, I was like, got it. So my efforts over 3 to 5 years, they compound.
You see the world in insurance flipping to some form of crypto exchanging or the way policies are held.
I think that could be a podcast in itself.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Risky Assets Podcast. It's been a little bit, life's been pretty crazy, but we're back on the wagon here in the studios. I have to my right, my good friend, Bryan Hauser. Bryan is a longtime friend, someone who I've made many offers to work with over the years. And Bryan's a producer for Greyhawk. And I just think the success story is something that's got to be documented. So you're going to want to watch this one. So let's get some context on us first, right? I've known you for like a decade now.
Yeah,
okay.
At least.
I mean, like, Bryan and I have been in Mexico together, right? Like, you know, we've had some good times.
We go back.
We played a lot of golf. My wife and his wife are like best friends. And I have always thought that Bryan could do insurance, but the guy just wouldn't listen to me. So I offered Bryan a job, I think, 4 times, maybe 3.
I think it was the 4th that did it.
The 4th did it, yeah, man. Like once a year, basically, I was getting after it. But Bryan, like, let's talk some work history because I think it's really fascinating. Yeah. You are new to the industry, all that to say, but like you're absolutely killing it. So I think some of your work background gives us, good context to that. So let's start like your first big boy job, right? Like what did that look like? Yeah. I think it was a production company, right?
It was in a television production company, and I helped do their budgeting, their financing, helped manage some field operations, and honestly dealing with the insurance a little bit for those events. And
you were a numbers nerd, right? So like that was a numbers job.
Numbers guy, lived in Excel. Yeah. I did get to go on set a few times. Okay. But I did that for a while, and that was my first job out of college. And from there, I kind of saw an opening and ended up just taking the leap and starting my own business as a drone cinematography and rental company.
Right, and that company was called View Above.
View Above, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you were going through that. I was still a producer, but you were going through the entrepreneurial journey and starting that. Like, what made you do it, first of all, and like how long did you end up having View Above?
Yeah, well, I was really deep into the budgeting side of it. I saw the difficulty of people being able to find drone operators. Sure. And I also saw how much they were getting paid. Yeah. And I saw that there was a little bit of a kind of supply, a shortness in supply. And I was like, you know what? I think if I'm ever going to do it, I've always wanted to start my own business and be entrepreneurial. Now's the time. So
how old were you at the time?
It was 5 years.
Mid to late 20s?
Yeah, I'd say 28, 27. Okay. No, 27. Okay. Yeah. And so I decided to come up with a business plan, pitch it to an investor. I got funded and just set out and started servicing different shows for reality TV and television and the real estate, and also renting them out as well.
I remember that. Yeah, and how long did that go for?
It did that for about 3.5 years, and essentially just the legal landscape changed and saturated the market, dropped the price, and it was great, but it wasn't what I set out to have it be. So
were you was that your only source of income at the time? Because I know for a while it was doing well enough to be happy.
It was, and it was my only source of income. Yeah. And as soon as that law changed, it really kind of made me kind of take a step back, reevaluate, and that's when I kind of went heavily into the rental side, because tons of pilots, so I just started renting them out to try and generate that income. Right. But yeah, it was my only source.
That's good. I mean, it went well till towards the end. And,
exactly.
I feel like you still kind of pulled ripcord because you just didn't feel like it was a good thing long term. But it wasn't floundering, was it?
It wasn't floundering, but the industry was going through a massive shift. And it was either you invest a couple $100,000 into more equipment or pivot and go into something else. Right. And, I made that decision. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go into something else.
Yeah. And with that segue, like, what was the job after? And this is where maybe I don't remember. Did you work for...
We're from Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was a high level...
Super high level,
Yeah.
working for the C-suite execs at Warner Brothers in their film division. And there it was really interesting just to kind of see how the inner workings of the corporate atmosphere, how it's applied to, whether it's the budgeting or the negotiation of films. And, based off of what we actually think it is, you get to experience what it actually is.
Sure. Yeah, and you said the person you're working for was a killer.
Yeah, she was incredible. Really, really talented, really intelligent. And so it's like, it's up to you to keep up.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a really cool place to be. And I think you were there for a couple years?
I was there for about 3.5 years.
Okay. And then from there, describe like what made you switch from that to, it was the real estate office, correct?
Yeah, I had a job in between that, but the
Oh, it was in the crypto space.
it was.
That's an interesting
It was a tech
job.
startup in the
Right.
crypto space, and that was honestly really interesting just because that was a business I haven't experienced before, and it was really fast paced, hiring people. I think they doubled their employee count in 1 year. Went from like 250 to
Dang.
500.
Oh my.
And it was just keeping up with their expansion and their connections with, the finance and crypto world. It was really exciting.
That's fascinating.
It was a great time. But exactly after that, I went to work for a family office, helping to manage all of their investments and all of their investment properties as well, trying to essentially come up with ROIs on acquiring properties, rebuilding them and selling them,
Right.
and then also managing the ones that exist
Right.
as well.
Now, I think that's really cool and relevant now because of a lot of what Greyhawk does is property. So you were very exposed to
It
like, hey,
helped a
what is
lot.
it? What does
Yeah.
it take to manage, run the insurance, all that good stuff. So I'll describe now like where kind of Greyhawk comes in, which was
Sure.
funny. I don't do softball. Like I played baseball back in the day. I'm a walking injury waiting to happen. And my wife was playing on your co-ed softball team.
Yep.
And I'm hanging out with Camden and your wife in the stands. And she
Yep.
just looks at me, your wife Erica, and was like, yeah, Brian's not doing, he doesn't love his job right now. Like, it's not going well. And I remember my eyes getting big and going, gosh, I don't want to like pounce while he's down or whatever. But I think pretty much at that day when the game was over, I was like, hey, dude, you got to talk to me about Greyhawk.
Yeah.
And I think that was the third or fourth time I'd pitched it to you. What was, obviously you don't need to go too much in detail, but what were you seeing from like I need to do something different? And then as I pitched Greyhawk to you, what was the thing? Like, what was the catalyst to all that?
Yeah, I think one thing I wanted to have a change mainly was, work-life balance, really having a little bit more autonomy, being in charge of your future. And one thing that really resonated me with Greyhawk is essentially everybody is managing their own business. And we get to utilize the framework and everything that Greyhawk has, but we are in charge of our own destiny.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me a lot. And, the other times that you pitched it, we never really had that deep conversation. I never got to ask my questions. I never got to understand essentially like how the commission and the pay works and the structure of all of that.
Yeah.
And so when all of that finally made sense, it really aligned with me just having a kid as well, seeing that
Sure.
into the future and kind of visualizing the lifestyle I wanted.
Yeah, I think even from my perspective, you weren't even ready to, because I think you were coming from crypto, which is super exciting, sexy, like on the outside. The real estate thing is super cool, right? Like everyone loves real estate. It's how you get rich. So I think part of it too is you were in some pretty cool stuff on top of that. Looking back, like insurance isn't quite as boring maybe as you thought.
Definitely not. I mean, look, when everybody hears it or hears that I work in insurance, you see that kind of
like,
vibe change.
Yeah.
But really being in it, you feel like an entrepreneur that's helping people and
Yeah.
you're solving problems and you're having to be creative because every business is different.
Right.
There's a different industry and there's different needs even within the same industry.
And clarification, like we're mostly commercial, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like we're just selling auto, home, and competing against Geico and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
it's very, very, very different. Now, I pitched you a bunch of stuff, and this was almost a year ago now at this point. I took a little bit of a leap. You took a big leap. Like there was a big upfront commitment from Greyhawk to go, hey, like I think this guy's going to work.
Right.
And then there was a big commitment on your part to go, this is a new industry and something I have jack squat. I don't know anything about outside of what I've been pitching. How has it from what you started and like, go, okay, I think this is good? Like, how has it panned out in your mind?
In my mind, it's panned out extremely well, to say the least. It's, one of the things you said from the get-go is, it's you get out of it what you put into it. And it's all about the networking, meeting people, just putting forth effort day in, day out. And that's what I really tried to focus on, is just going to networking events, joining groups, speaking with people, just letting them know that this is what I'm doing now and this is how I can help. And I've just continued to do that week over week. And it really starts to pay dividends, once you kind of get them to realize you're sticking with it and you're also good at it. And it, you have some wins under your belt and you get to kind of talk about those as well. And it's been really good so far.
It's been really good. So I remember as we were starting, you were like, man, I'm out a lot right now. My wife is like, dude, what are you doing? Like, because you were going to a lot of events. And I remember going, dude, I know it feels like a lot right now. And it's hard when you have a newer kid, right? And it's like, okay, sorry, hon. Like, I know. But I always tell people you got to make friends with strangers. And like eventually it does pan 100%. Itself out. And you've had a great year so far. Numbers wise, right? You're almost at 300. Is it 300 and some change now on the book of business? Which I don't know if, validated producer in a year, which is incredible. For people who don't understand, that's like 3 times the national average for independent brokerage agents, right? So Bryan is killing it. And we still have like another month and a half on your first year in the business. So he has proven himself to like, hey, it's a contact sport. You're making contact with people and you've been doing a great job. And as far as, it's a big adjustment to any new job, right? Like even dealing with people. How has the office and the support been from not just me, but like the people at the company? Yeah,
I mean, taking just a brief step back, when we had that discussion about, me making that leap, one of the main things, just working in different locations that I wanted to see, I was like, take me to the office. I want to see the office. I want to get the vibe. I want to do a vibe check of it essentially. And when I did, it was a really good feeling. And since then, what I've noticed is that it's very much like almost a sports team that you're on. There's a lot of like competition because we're all friends. We're all trying to like do well, but there's also a lot of support, and it kind of feels like a hive mind of insurance in a way. And, there's yourself, there's other really experienced producers, and that is what I relied on a ton in the beginning, because you're going to have a billion questions, and having people that are willing to answer those and help guide you a little bit is everything. Otherwise, I'd maybe be going down a path that probably is not the best route, where somebody like yourself, it's like been doing this forever. It's like, I've tried it, doesn't work. You want to go this way. And so I've had a number of those instances where it's been really helpful to have that direction and kind of the experience that you can rely on.
It's so funny because I was telling him early on, like, hey man, like this is how I see it. And you could tell you had those like, I'm going to try it anyway.
I'm going to figure it out myself, yeah.
But eventually you came in, I don't know how many months ago, but you're like, all right, like I see what we got going on here, and like I'm just going to try and focus more on this stuff, and it's panned out well.
Yeah.
Are there things in the industry that maybe, so I always say like there's uninformed optimism, which you had. Like I didn't know the business, but I was optimistic.
Right.
Now you have like an informed optimism. What was the thing that changed from when you started to now? Like, are there things that are really difficult that you didn't realize, or things that are easier that you didn't realize?
I'd say understanding insurance was something that obviously I dealt with it all my different professions, but I didn't understand the actual process of writing it, and being in charge of that responsibility for businesses made me nervous because I wanted to do it well.
Of course.
But now that I have a better understanding of it, it feels much more, I guess I'm much more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as far as stuff that is harder that I didn't quite realize, I think, it is a grind, and you have to, as soon as you let off the gas, as far as like meeting with people or just going to events or something like that, you feel it, and you probably feel it about a week or two later, and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm starting to feel a little light, and so
a little bored.
Yeah. And so you need to kind of get that going again,
Sure.
Find out some events, go talk to people and see how you can help. So that's one thing I didn't realize, is how important the events are. It's like, it's not a 9 to 5, but it's kind of like a 24/7, however much you want to put into it, however much you want to utilize those events and those meeting opportunities.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is the tough part about, once you find out you're bored, it's already too late. But like, filling the pipeline is constant, consistent work. I feel like most athletes would say, hey, I'm always training, or I'm always like, that was their
Right.
way of saying I'm always going to be sharp. And you kind of have to do that in the sales field. Is you always kind of have to be sharpening the skill or networking or whatever it may be. Otherwise, you're just starting to die. Right. So
It's true. And you start to feel it.
You start to feel it quick. You've written a couple of big accounts. Okay. So I always think it's interesting to hear, newer producers' perspective. How has that been different than some of the smaller stuff? Have you seen any difference between a small account and a big account?
Well, as far as just myself and my enjoyment, I mean, obviously it's better to write a big account.
Sure.
But writing the big accounts and helping with every single line of a larger company is like what really like gets my juices flowing.
Yeah,
like
it's fun.
I love that. It's so much more strategic. You really have to kind of like immerse yourself and think of all of the different ways that they're exposed, how you're going to solve it. And it's much more nuanced, and the conversations are much more high level and interesting for me to have, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
And so I really love those discussions, and I love those meetings, and I kind of love the process of just building that package out, and just you get to the end and you're like, there it is. And then them on the other side haven't had anybody put this much effort into it before, and you kind of are both really excited and proud of what you did, because their job is also easier.
It is. Yeah, it's funny because when I got into the business, I was scared to compete against the big accounts, against the big agencies, because I'm like, they're going to be better than me. I've seen it time and time and time again. Just because the agency is bigger does not mean they're better than you. And even this last account you ran up, like, I can't believe what the broker was putting them through to try and just service their own accounts. And I'm like, hold on, this is a massive account, and you're a big brokerage, and you're basically going, good luck. It's incredible, right?
Yeah, it's surprising.
And so we still feel like we have the advantage of being that speedboat and being like, hey, no, we can adjust to you. We can help you. You're going to be present in our minds. It's not just some number that throws up on the stock ticker, right? So we've been able to help a lot of large accounts, which has been so fun to deal with from afar, from seeing people do it like you and Roger and all that good stuff. Now, as far as we do a lot of property, okay? You have a way of going about getting business that you've really dove into with like State Farm referrals. Just describe that. How has that been working for you? And just like give people an example of how it's panned out.
Yeah, I mean, as some people in the industry know, State Farm's just getting out of all of their commercial policies.
Yeah, in California.
Yeah, in California. Non-renewing them all. And so essentially the method is you go and you want to be a partner with the State Farm agent, and the State Farm agent wants a good place to send their client, because customer service still has to be picked up. And they also want to trust the person is going to kind of stay in the lane of that policy and not try to go beyond that. And so that's why the in-person communication is so important. So essentially it's, you go to Porto's early in the morning, you get, 12 to 15 boxes of Porto's, and you just make a map for yourself, and you go to State Farm offices and go in there and introduce yourself, say what you're doing, say how you want to help, and, just kind of be there to be, a sounding board of whatever issues they're having. See if you can kind of have any crossover and solve those.
Totally.
For them.
So one of the things that we get a lot of from them, and you specifically too, is a lot of apartments. So you've really grown your property side of the book, which has been fun too.
Right.
And just so people have context, when State Farm, when they send a referral out, they're worried that we're going to pickpocket all of the accounts.
Correct.
Right? So, okay, you send me the property, but I'm going to go for the auto, the work comp, the umbrella. So what we effectively do is say, hey, whatever you send us is all we'll work on.
Yep.
We will protect you in the sense of we won't poach your other lines of business.
Exactly.
Now, if we get a call unprompted, nobody forwarded it, guess what? We are on them. So we're trying to get all lines of business, and that's what they're trying to protect themselves from.
Exactly.
So Bryan's done a good job, and we have other people that do it too now. Like, we honor the commitment to not poach whatever hasn't been sent to us.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's worked really, really well. We've built, I think, a reputation of integrity with a lot of those people too, because I'm sure they all talk to each other. But it's been really good for your business overall. And as far as learning insurance, you kind of mentioned it. You have gotten very competent, but it was also a lot of questions up front, which I think was a good thing. Like, you were very curious to learn the business as fast as possible. If one was your comfort meter when you started, a year ago, what's it now in your head?
Yeah, I think, starting out, you don't know what you don't know. And so that's why so many, questions flow. I'd say I'm probably at like a good 8.
8. I would agree with that, actually. Yeah. And so you come in rarely with questions now, just making sure, hey, does this make sense? Right. But you're very comfortable. I just think it's a testament too. Like you've worked on a lot of accounts, so you've gotten comfortable quickly. Yeah, the reps are so important. And as I see it from like a training perspective, we talked about not working on smaller accounts, and like you are competent enough now. I feel like you could go get a bunch of big accounts and be in a really good position real fast. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I feel as well. And as the book has grown as well, I've tried to reorient my prospecting, the way I approach things, and also just what I spend my time doing.
Yeah,
and not necessarily to fill it with all the smaller accounts, but fill it with maybe strategizing on how to go after bigger accounts and how to find those contacts or talk to different people.
Totally. So this is a little selfish plug for Greyhawk, but you got the pitch from me. I basically like, hey, this is the dream. You're going to have a great schedule. You're going to make great money. We offer ownership in the business once your book is big enough.
Yep.
From your perspective, like, were all those things that I was pitching, were any of them off or wrong? I mean, I'm sure it was maybe a little exaggerated, but like at the same time, you've killed it.
No, I mean, look, they were like spot on, and it's interesting. It's kind of like teaching your child in a sense. You can tell them what it's going to be like, but there are certain things you have to figure out for yourself, and that's what you spoke about earlier, where it's like there's some things where you're like, yeah, I wouldn't go about it that way, and in my head I'm like, you know what, let me at least figure it out for myself. But you learn that is why experience is so important.
Yeah,
it's like where to kind of push and pull in different areas. Everything that you did talk about is very true, but it's what you put into it, and it's very dependent on your effort and just pushing forward day in and day out, because it's not just going to come to you. You gotta go out and get it. You got to let people know this is what you're doing in your career, and just meet people.
Yeah, and you've done great. Another Greyhawk plug, right? We when we came up and said, hey, we're going to work together, we wanted to make sure you didn't take this huge pay cut day one. And just so people are kind of like aware, I never, ever, ever pitch you're going to make six figures the first year. I never do it because I think it's an unfair expectation. Now, I hesitate to say it, or I don't, but like, you're going to do that this first year. Like, no problem, because of how much business you've thrown on the board. It's possible. Yeah. I just never go and like, everyone's going to make six figures. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. But as far as your future, I mean, like, the sky's the limit. Book a business for ownership. Do you feel like that income generation and the freedom of schedule has been what I pitched as well?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is. That's the exciting part, is that as long as you're delivering and making stuff happen, you can kind of formulate your day how you please. And it's been really fortunate. It's definitely possible, not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair statement, because it really is. Like, sometimes you have home runs, sometimes it kind of falls short a little bit, but if you come back the next day and try again, you have another shot at it.
It'll be there. Yeah, the nice part about insurance, we can sell to anybody, and then they got to buy it again next year. Yeah. So if you don't get it the first year, you can come back for the second year. You can come back for the third year. Like, you're always there for building blocks, so to speak.
And it's not always like a huge, super positive thing. I remember there was one huge property account we worked on. I came in on the weekends, like, drove out to the client over and over again, spent probably 20 plus hours or more on this account. And it just didn't pan out. Yeah. And for one reason or another, it just, stars didn't align for it. And, I remember being really kind of upset about it, but you realize, you know what? There's a lot of clients out there. There are going to be clients that are going to appreciate what I'm doing. And so just keep going, find the next one, and hopefully that one works out as well. And, you never give up on it, but at the same time, you can't let it just like break you down.
Of course. Yeah. And I feel like I've tried, when you've had some of those losses, but like, dude, these happen. You just got to keep going. As long as you don't stop, you'll be fine. Right. Yeah. That's the informed pessimism stage you were kind of in, like, oh, now I know. And this isn't quite like what I thought. That wasn't roses, but you just got to blow past that. And then as far as the future, right? Like, I always want to see people succeed, because if you're succeeding and your family is succeeding, that means I'm doing well, and it's like it's a good experience. How do you see the future for yourself, whether it's at Greyhawk, like locally in the Santa Clarita office, or starting, like, how do you see the future panning out?
Yeah, I think from the very beginning, it was something where I've always been a very entrepreneurial person. And so the goal is to run my own branch and have ownership in the company and expand that Greyhawk brand to other cities. I'm based over in Burbank, and, I think that's where I kind of see myself going, is, stepping in eventually to that leadership role of being able to run a branch and, develop other producers and give them the same kind of support that I got that allowed me to succeed.
Yeah.
Because not every brokerage is the same, and it really is a testament to Greyhawk and its support structure why I did succeed.
Yeah.
And it's not
100%.
guaranteed, but if you have that support structure, it's more likely.
100%. Yeah, there's hiring people and then there's training people. A lot of people just hire. They don't do the training part, which we've really tried hard. And again, mind you, I remember when I pitched you, I was like, I'm going to be so on top of this because I didn't want to pitch a lie, right? So I was very committed to like being there, which is, I hope, what other people in turn do for the next generation, so to speak, of producers. Because one, everyone wins in that situation.
Yep.
And two, it's like it's the right thing to do, right?
Absolutely.
Now, as far as, we grew up kind of not in the same area, but we were both Valley kids. Burbank, I grew up basically right outside. We're in Shadow Hills.
Went to the same college.
Went to the same college, which is funny. At CSUN, Matador, baby.
Yeah.
You've seen the business now. Like, don't really need a college degree, but it's helpful. Work experience is helpful. How do you see kind of the future of insurance? Like, training next generation college kids. Do you think people like you that come out of a established career, like, what do you see as effective?
Yeah, I mean, coming as a mid-career switch is more challenging, but it's almost more beneficial because you are more sure of yourself. You have more experiences to pull from. I pull from every single company I've ever worked at all the
obvious.
time.
Yeah.
And, being able to speak to different things that, other business owners have encountered that maybe you've encountered in the past in other places you've worked. Coming out of college is still absolutely possible, but I think you have to approach it a little bit in a different way.
Longer tail for sure of getting them going.
And it's really just like, you got to grind. You got to just be a expert in insurance, get people out there to say, hey, he may be young, but he definitely knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to kind of just start that networking even quicker and, lean into it harder.
Yeah, I love it. And part of why I was asking that too is we're working on so many AI tools right now, which you've kind of been like a little bit of a catalyst for that. It's been fun to see like that progress and some of the programs that we're working towards using or building ourselves. You got to know that that's going to take a big effect on our industry. Like, you're not scared of it because you're on the front end. How do you see that playing out just from an agent perspective?
I mean, I think from an agent perspective, right now, I just see it making us more efficient and actually able to be more kind of like precise with being able to root out things in policies, because policies are 150, sometimes 200 pages long.
Yeah, they can be very long.
And using AI to either draw comparisons or be able to essentially, find things that are excluded that normally maybe your eye scanned over and missed, has been a real use. And also just making us quicker in the quoting process. It's really just made me more efficient. The more I've started to kind of lean on it and then create my own GPT models to go into it farther, it's continuing to be very useful.
It's so useful. And again, this has kind of been a good thing for us. You never know what you're going to get from people, right? Like, that was one of the exciting things. Like, oh, you're really into this. You were using it a lot when you came in. And I was kind of using it, but it's caused me to go, hold on, can this be done in a different way?
Right.
And I think that's been beneficial to all of us, because you've been making those GPTs, sending it to the boys and the staff and being like, hey, like, this is really good. You should use this for whatever it is. Quoting or archiving information, workers' comp, all these kind of proposal stuff. So I'm really excited about what that looks like long term, because obviously that multiplies the more people that's there. And as far as like the future, very excited. Ownership's always a possibility, starting an office. For you personally, though, like family, vacations, coaching, like how do you guys see that being played out while you're in, at Greyhawk?
Yeah, I guess I didn't touch on it at the very beginning, but that is one of the main reasons I wanted to switch professions as well, because I saw myself, you're locked in from 8 a.m., sometimes till 7 p.m. every night, no exceptions. Doesn't matter what your performance is. That's it. And here you can really reap the reward of, if you're really succeeding and you're pushing it forward, you can find time to coach your kid. And I really, really want to be an involved father. I want to coach his games. I want to be there. And that's what I saw as a possibility with this. And the more I've kind of moved forward in it, I know it's a possibility. And it's something that really excites me, because my kid's about 15 months now, and Not in sports yet, but eventually he's going to be, and I want to be coaching it and have time to be able to do that.
That's so
it's
cool.
exciting to see that's definitely going to happen.
This is a fun one because you're such a big crypto guy. You see the world in insurance flipping to some form of crypto exchanging of with premiums or anything like that, or the way policies are held.
I think that could be a podcast in itself.
Really?
I could.
Well, give us the overview.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything with crypto, it's not necessarily just like a certain coin. I think it's the kind of the processes that are going to be streamlined and they're going to be made more efficient because of blockchain technology. There's a lot of different things right now that have to be verified by third parties that in the future can be done autonomously and compliant based off state regulations or country regulations. And all of that will be more autonomous. And so the same way that the financial industry transferring over multiple countries have to have certain compliance, all that's done with a third party having to make sure compliance is in place. What crypto is bringing is essentially being able to automate that compliance. So you send that money, it automatically knows all the compliance standards for that destination and makes it happen. And with insurance, it's contracts. So the fact that smart contracts are becoming more prevalent, it's going to absolutely weave its way throughout the insurance industry. And it's exciting because I'm all in. And so I'm going to be on the cutting edge of trying to figure out how I can utilize it, how we can utilize it. And it's definitely going to change the way everything works.
Yeah, I've been a little bit of a pessimist. Bryan and I always kind of like banter back and forth. But, there is a lot more positive, I think, stuff as crypto has come in. I've been worried that the government can just squash it. That's been my big worry, but it doesn't look like that's happening. It looks like they're embracing it more than anything. So I'm kind of starting to go on this like, all right, maybe I should be a little bit more committed to it because I understand it.
Right.
But I always had that very negative starting position. So I do have a self-directed. I put a minority of my money into it. I just thought it was fun money.
Yeah.
But now you can look at it and go, all right, maybe 2 to 5% isn't strong enough, right? So it's something that I'm considering. But I was interested to think what you thought on how it could really weave through the process. Are there other things you can see it doing outside of those kind of things and payment?
Well, payment is one aspect of it, but the whole thing that the blockchain is able to do as well, it's like projects kind of like Chainlink, is data validation. So smart contracts, without getting too much in the weeds, essentially need certain data points in order to execute. If X happens, then Y occurs. You have to make sure that X and Y information data points are secure, not hackable, and that they cannot be manipulated anyway. Because if you can manipulate those data points, you can hack the contract.
Right.
And so that's why it's so interesting to kind of see this whole data validation layer being essentially built and put through in the infrastructure with JP Morgan and the DTCC as well.
Do you think that helps with cyber claims overall? Because obviously accessing data is how cyber claims happen. So do you think that could benefit the whole industry, not just insurance, but like everyone's industry? If we can have that data locked down, then cyber technically should be much more complicated, like a cyber crime to commit it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess without getting too complex into it, just as a quick example, companies have to take your credit card number in order to process payment now. But there are ways that Chainlink is one of them that is providing that financial data, that customer data in such a way that you can accept payment, but you don't have to know any of their personal information. But you know that all of that data is correct. You know that they are within a jurisdiction that you can do business. All of that's validated on a third party, essentially autonomous blockchain, and then you can benefit from it. They know it's secure, you know it's secure, but you don't hold all their data. So you're not even liable for it, but you can still do business with them.
I see that. So definitely changing the cyber landscape.
So I think it completely unlocks a whole other market and really just allows more people to transact.
That would be fun to see. Again, that's where I'd get really excited about going, all right, this cyber thing is like, or the crypto thing, if it impacts that, that's fun, right? And I think it can have a lot of use case. I guess now, like you've been here. You're probably not going anywhere for a long time. I hope you don't go anywhere. I'm going to lock you down with ownership.
Don't plan on it.
But one of the things that we've discussed is that I'm going to start hiring people in 2s and 3s and try and get as many people in because I think Greyhawk does the growing people well. So I want to just double down on that. What do you say to someone coming in if they're asking you for advice, going, "Hey, should I do this?" Like, what's your answer to that young person or middle-aged career change person?
Yeah, I'd say, if you're ready to put forth the effort, you feel as though you are resilient enough to face rejection, because that's going to happen. But the thing is that you have to take it in and be able to learn from it, and then maybe change something and move forward and keep pushing. I'd say it's 100% what you explained it to be, but you need to just be ready to put in the effort, and you will reap the reward, but you definitely need to be ready to work hard for it.
Yeah. I always tell people this isn't life insurance either, which again, probably a whole separate podcast about that industry as a whole. It's pretty scammy. Right. But property and casualty is like a plane, like a big plane that gets off the ground. It takes a lot of effort to get that stupid thing off the ground.
Yeah.
But once it's in the air, you start picking up speed pretty quickly. And then once it's coasting, it's hard to take a big plane out, right? Because you have all your renewals. And we get paid every year. Renewals happen, we get paid.
Yeah, it's a snowball.
It's a big snowball.
And that's one of the huge draws that when I first had the conversation with you, I didn't fully understand that.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of had that aha moment. I was like, got it. So my efforts over 3 to 5 years, they compound.
They compound itself.
And that is really powerful, because in the corporate world that I came from, maybe you can eke out a 3% raise if you kill it. And then they'll give you a bonus of like 5%. And you're like, all right, sweet. Yeah. But it's not guaranteed. And here it's like, you could get that in a week. It could happen next day. You never know.
Yeah, you don't have to ask for a raise.
And that's kind of the excitement of it.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and then we pay bonuses, which you are in for this year.
Right.
But, we're rewarding heavily people who are doing new business well. And we go, hey, we're going to pay you an 8% override on new business.
Yeah.
You're almost making 50% commission at this point, which is great, but you deserve it, right? And like, you can't just go get that bonus from corporate, like, hey, I did well. Okay, well, let's see how everybody else does.
Right.
It's a challenge, right? So, I'm glad that's working out, because it's gone really well. And then as far as the, expectation, I've said 6 to 12 months to feel like you can fly on your own. That's been about right. It's been about the experience that you've felt, right?
Yeah, there's just a lot of different programs. There's the whole structure of it. I'd say it's probably about 6 to 9 months or so. I'll probably get to that 9 range around the 12-month coming up, but it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's great.
But that also, like, one thing to say is, like, that doesn't mean that you can't be closing business in those 6 months.
No.
It just means that there's a little bit less questions that you ask and a little bit more autonomy as you kind of move forward in that.
Right, and that's where
I've
like
experienced.
my commitment to training people, being next to them. Like, I was doing a lot of the work up front, but that's okay. Like, that's what you need, and you learn on the fly that way.
Exactly.
It's both beneficial. Dude, I just wanted to say, like, it's been a good ride so far. I'm super excited about it. It's been fun to watch everything progress in like a very positive way. You've done great. You've killed it. So I'm just excited for what like this podcast looks like in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. And we'll be older, grayer with the older kids and whatever. But like, I hope that it's a big, like, yeah, we're doing really well. We're impacting our communities. I'm really excited about that.
Same.
And, if you didn't take the 4th offer, I would have pitched it a 5th time, but appreciate you. And everyone, if you're interested in a job at Greyhawk, just let us know. We'd love to communicate with you. It's not for everybody. Let me just be very clear. It is a difficult job. Sales is not for the faint of heart. But if you feel like you got it, and you feel like you're ready to take a bunch of rejection and no's for some big wins, let us know. Bryan, and we have some other people at the agency that as well that are happy to talk to you. But we want to grow with good people who are honest and ethical and, be people like Bryan. So, dude, thanks for coming on the podcast. Hopefully we'll do some more with some other things we got going on. But appreciate you and hope you liked it. Reach out if you have any questions. See y'all.